Family, I want you to pause for a moment and think about this. Your life is not just about the years you live, it's about the impact you leave behind. Legacy is not something far away. It is being written in the choices you make today. What you carry, what you build, and what you leave will speak long after your voice is silent. The question is not if you will leave a legacy, but what kind of legacy will your life tell? When we talk about the power of intentional living, we are really talking about living with a clear sense of purpose and awareness, not simply existing or drifting through the motions of life. To live intentionally is to recognize that every moment, every decision, every word, and every action carries weight and consequence. It means realizing that nothing about your life is random, nothing is without impact, and nothing is too small to matter. So many people wake up each day merely reacting to circumstances, moving from one demand to another, without pausing to ask themselves what story they are actually writing with their lives. Intentional living shifts that posture. It demands that you step into your days with a conscious commitment to align your life with the values you want to embody and the legacy you want to leave. There is something deeply empowering about knowing that you are not just a passenger in life's journey, but you are entrusted with the steering wheel. When you understand that you no longer settle for living on autopilot, you start to evaluate your time, your relationships, your priorities, and your habits. You begin to question why you do what you do. You begin to ask yourself if the way you are living is consistent with the impact you desire to leave in this world. This is not about perfection, it is about awareness. It is about cultivating the discipline to ensure that your actions are not disconnected from your vision. Every day is an opportunity to either invest in your future or neglect it. Intentional living recognizes that small decisions accumulate, and those accumulated choices shape the trajectory of your life. There are people who look back at their lives with regret, not because they did not have opportunities, but because they did not live with intention. They let life happen to them instead of happening through them. They allowed fear to dictate decisions. They let distractions consume their focus. They lived reactive lives. And when they looked back, they realized that their story had been written by external forces rather than their own convictions. Intentional living confronts this by reminding you that you cannot control everything that happens, but you can always control how you show up. You can control the choices you make in response to life's circumstances. You can decide to live with clarity about what matters most and to align your energy around that. Intentional living is also about vision. Without vision, you live by default. Vision allows you to see beyond the moment, beyond temporary feelings, beyond immediate gratification. When you carry vision, you weigh your decisions differently. You ask yourself if what you are doing today will contribute to the person you are becoming tomorrow. Vision forces you to step out of the trap of short-term thinking and instead prioritize long-term impact. Many people chase opportunities, but intentional living is about discerning which opportunities align with the bigger picture of your life. Not everything that looks good is good for you. Not every door that opens leads to destiny. Sometimes intentional living means having the courage to say no, even when saying yes feels easier, because you understand that your yes is sacred. At its core, intentional living demands self-awareness. You cannot live intentionally if you do not know yourself. You must be willing to confront your strengths, your weaknesses, your patterns, and your desires. You must learn to discern between what is authentic to your identity and what is imposed by culture, expectation, or fear. Too many people live lives that are not even theirs. They live out the dreams of others, the pressures of society, or the comparisons they absorb from what they see around them. Intentional living calls you back to authenticity. It challenges you to strip away the noise and to ask, who am I truly? What has been placed within me? What kind of life do I want to create? What kind of person do I want to become? When you embrace self-awareness, you are empowered to live in alignment with your true essence, not a borrowed version of yourself. Another dimension of intentional living is stewardship. Your time, your resources, your gifts, and your influence are all entrusted to you. How you manage them reveals your level of intentionality. Time is one of the most valuable resources we have, yet it is also one of the easiest to waste. Living intentionally requires you to evaluate how you spend your time and whether it reflects your priorities. If you say that family is important, but spend no time nurturing those relationships, then there is a gap between your intention and your action. If you claim to value growth, but do not invest in learning or self-development, then you are living reactively. Intentional living bridges the gap between what you say you value and what you actually practice. It invites you to bring integrity into your daily rhythm, so your life begins to mirror the values you profess. One of the challenges of intentional living is that it often requires you to resist the pull of comfort. It is easy to live reactively because it requires less effort. It is easy to settle for routines that are familiar even if they are unproductive. It is easy to allow external circumstances to dictate your decisions because then you do not carry the weight of responsibility. But intentional living is not about ease, it is about impact. It calls you out of comfort zones and into conscious choices. It requires courage to face difficult decisions, discipline to cultivate new habits, and persistence to remain focused even when distractions arise. When you live intentionally, you recognize that the road may not always be easy, but it will always be worth it because it aligns with your deeper purpose. Another key aspect of intentional living is relationships. The people you surround yourself with shape your environment, your mindset, and ultimately your legacy. Living intentionally means being mindful of who has access to your life, who influences your decisions, and who walks alongside you. It means recognizing that some relationships are seasonal, some are detrimental, and some are essential for your growth. When you live reactively, you let anyone occupy space in your life without discernment. But when you live intentionally, you guard your inner circle. You recognize that your relationships either propel you forward or hold you back. You begin to choose connections that align with your values and your vision. You invest in relationships that bring mutual growth, encouragement, and accountability. Intentional living is also about how you handle your inner life. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and your mindset are the seeds from which your actions grow. If you do not intentionally cultivate healthy patterns of thinking, negativity, fear, and doubt will take root. Living intentionally means guarding your mind and being deliberate about what you feed your soul. It means creating practices that center you, whether that is prayer, meditation, journaling, or reflection, so that you remain anchored in clarity. Without this, it becomes too easy to be swayed by the opinions of others or the unpredictability of circumstances. Intentional living is an inside-out process. What you cultivate within yourself determines the quality of what you produce outside yourself. In the same way, intentional living extends to the way you impact others. Your life is not just for you. It is meant to influence, inspire, and uplift. Every interaction you have leaves a mark. Sometimes it is as small as a word of encouragement, a smile, or a listening ear. Other times it is as significant as mentorship, leadership, or creating opportunities for others. When you live with intention, you become aware that your life is a vessel of influence. You understand that your words and actions ripple outward into the lives of those around you. You stop taking interactions for granted because you recognize that even in ordinary moments, legacy is being shaped. Living intentionally also requires resilience. Life will not always go according to plan. There will be disappointments, setbacks, and unexpected detours. Intentional living does not mean controlling outcomes. It means controlling your posture. It is about staying rooted in your values and vision, even when circumstances shift. Resilience allows you to adapt without losing your sense of purpose. It helps you to keep moving forward when the path is difficult. It reminds you that challenges are not obstacles to your legacy, but opportunities to refine it. When you live intentionally, you stop seeing adversity as the end of the story and begin to see it as a chapter in the greater narrative of your life. Ultimately, intentional living is a daily choice. It is not something you arrive at once and for all. It is something you practice moment by moment. It is reflected in the way you start your day, the decisions you make, the conversations you have, and the way you respond to life's interruptions. It requires vigilance, but it also produces freedom. When you live intentionally, you are no longer tossed by every wave of circumstance. You live with clarity, direction, and peace. You begin to experience the power of knowing that your life is not random but deliberate, that your story is not passive but purposeful, that your legacy is not accidental but crafted. Breaking cycles, building futures is one of the most transformative ideas we can embrace when thinking about life and legacy. Every person is born into patterns that existed long before they arrive, patterns woven into families, cultures, and communities. These patterns can be positive, like resilience, generosity, but they can also be destructive, like fear, poverty, trauma, or limiting beliefs. To break cycles means to stand with courage in front of what has been passed down and decide that the story will not repeat through you. It is the recognition that you are both the product of what came before and the architect of what comes after. Building futures means choosing to be intentional in rewriting the script, creating a pathway that those who come after you can walk with greater freedom, greater possibility, and greater wholeness. Many people live unaware of the cycles shaping their lives. They wonder why the same struggles echo through generations, why the same limitations persist in families, why certain habits or outcomes repeat. Without awareness, those cycles continue unchecked. To break them, you must first see them clearly. It requires honesty to name what has been normalized but is not healthy, to recognize dysfunction that has been disguised as tradition, to call out limitations that were accepted as fate. Awareness is the first step to liberation. When you see the cycle, you can confront it. When you confront it, you can dismantle it. And when you dismantle it, you make room to build something new. Breaking cycles often begins with the courage to do something different. Difference can feel threatening because it challenges what has always been. Families and communities sometimes resist when someone chooses a new way because cycles have a way of creating comfort zones even when they are unhealthy. It takes bravery to be the one who says, "This ends with me." It takes resolve to choose healing when brokenness has been the norm, to choose discipline when irresponsibility has been normalized, to choose faith when doubt has been inherited. It is not easy, but it is necessary. Every cycle breaker carries within them both the burden of resistance and the gift of transformation. Cycles can exist in many areas of life. Some are financial. Generations may live in scarcity, bound by poor money management or limited vision, and those cycles can perpetuate lack. Breaking that cycle may mean learning financial literacy, practicing stewardship, and creating opportunities that shift the family's future. Some cycles are relational. Patterns of unhealthy marriages, absent parents, or generational conflict can repeat until someone decides to address the roots, seek healing, and model something different. Some cycles are internal. Patterns of fear, insecurity, or self-sabotage that pass from one generation to another because beliefs and behaviors were absorbed without question. To build futures, you must first uproot those internal narratives and replace them with new truths. Breaking cycles is not about rejecting your past or dishonoring those who came before you. It is about honoring them by refusing to let pain be the final word. Many times our ancestors did the best they could with what they had. They may not have had the tools, resources, or awareness that you now carry. By breaking cycles, you are not shaming them. You are redeeming their sacrifices by ensuring that the struggles they endured are not repeated unnecessarily. You are saying, "I will take what was given to me, I will honor the good, and I will transform the rest." In that way, breaking cycles is an act of love for those before you and for those after you. There is also a spiritual dimension to breaking cycles. Some patterns are not just habits or behaviors, but strongholds, mindsets, and bondages that require a deeper level of freedom. Recognizing this reminds us that breaking cycles is not just a matter of willpower. It often requires divine empowerment, guidance, and healing. When you invite God into your process, you find strength to confront what feels bigger than you, to resist what has bound your lineage, and to walk in a new identity. Spiritual cycles are broken when truth replaces lies, when freedom replaces bondage, when wholeness replaces brokenness. Building futures goes hand in hand with breaking cycles. It is not enough to stop destructive patterns. You must also create constructive ones. A cycle breaker who does not build becomes a void. Building futures means establishing new rhythms, new mindsets, and new structures that sustain growth. If you break the cycle of financial instability, you build a future by creating wealth, teaching stewardship, and passing down knowledge. If you break the cycle of broken relationships, you build a future by modeling healthy love, practicing forgiveness, and teaching boundaries. If you break the cycle of fear, you build a future by cultivating confidence, instilling courage, and creating environments where others can dream without limitation. Building futures requires vision. You must be able to see beyond yourself into generations you may never meet. Legacy thinkers understand that their lives are seeds, and seeds always grow into something larger than themselves. To build a future, you must ask what kind of fruit you want your life to produce, not just for today, but for years to come. Vision allows you to plant intentionally, knowing that what you establish today will become the environment in which others live tomorrow. Building also requires patience. Breaking cycles is often dramatic, is the moment of decision, the act of resistance, the shift in trajectory. But building is steady, often slow, and requires persistence. You cannot build a future in a day. You must be willing to lay foundations brick by brick, sometimes without immediate reward. Building is about creating structures that outlast you. It is about investing in systems, habits, and disciplines that will continue to serve even when you are gone. Builders are patient enough to prioritize long-term fruit over short-term gratification. Another important truth is that building futures cannot be done in isolation. Community plays a vital role. As much as cycles can trap, communities can also heal and sustain. When you surround yourself with others who are committed to growth, who model healthier ways of living, who encourage and challenge you, you gain strength to both break and build. Sometimes the future you are building requires collaboration, mentorship, and interdependence. When you choose to connect with people who share your values and vision, you multiply your impact. Breaking cycles and building futures also requires resilience. Resistance will come. It might come from within in the form of doubt, fatigue, or fear. It might come from outside in the form of criticism, misunderstanding, or pressure. But resilience keeps you anchored in your decision to create change. Resilience reminds you that even when progress feels slow, it is still progress. Resilience allows you to see beyond temporary struggles to the bigger picture of legacy. Those who build futures are those who refuse to quit, even when the work is hard, even when the results are delayed, even when others do not understand. There is a generational blessing in this work. When you break cycles, you do not just change your own life, you change the lives of those who come after you. Your children, your community, and even those you may never meet will benefit from the courage you carry today. Think of how one person's decision to pursue education can shift the trajectory of an entire family line. Think of how one person's decision to prioritize mental health can set new standards of well-being for generations. Think of how one person's decision to forgive can free a family from decades of bitterness. The power of one decision to break a cycle and build a future is immeasurable. When you understand this, you realize that your life is bigger than you. You are not just living for yourself. You are carrying generations within you. The choices you make ripple outward. The healing you pursue becomes a gift to those who will never know the battles you fought. The sacrifices you make become the foundation others will stand on. The courage you embody becomes the inspiration for someone else's freedom. Breaking cycles and building futures transforms life from being about survival to being about significance. What makes this journey even more profound is that it never has to be perfect to be powerful. Breaking cycles is messy work. Building futures is demanding work. You may stumble, you may have setbacks, and you may face seasons where progress feels invisible. But even imperfect progress is progress. Every step you take away from destructive cycles and toward healthier futures matters. Legacy is not built in a single moment, but in consistent, intentional choices over time. As you reflect on what it means to break cycles and build futures, you begin to see your life not just as a collection of experiences, but as a bridge. On one side are the generations that came before you with all their victories and struggles. On the other side are the generations that will come after you, waiting for the impact of your decisions. You stand in the middle, with the power to either pass down what was given to you or to transform it into something greater. That awareness is both sobering and empowering. It calls you to courage, to discipline, to love, and to vision. Legacy as a daily choice is one of the most overlooked yet powerful truths about life. When people think about legacy, they often imagine it as something distant, something that will only be revealed at the end of their lives after they are gone. They imagine grand gestures, monumental achievements, or the way history books might remember them. But legacy is not an event that happens at the end. It is the accumulation of daily choices. It is the story being written in the present moment, in the way you live, love, and lead right now. Every action you take, every word you speak, every decision you make is a brushstroke on the canvas of your legacy. When you recognize that legacy is a daily choice, it changes the way you see your ordinary days. Suddenly, the small moments are not small at all. The way you treat the person serving you at a restaurant, the patience you show in traffic, the time you choose to invest in your family, the discipline you practice when no one is watching, all of these are threads being woven into the fabric of your life story. People often underestimate the power of consistency, but consistency is what builds character, and character is the core of legacy. You cannot live recklessly day after day and then expect your legacy to reflect honor and integrity. What you sow in the ordinary will eventually be revealed in the extraordinary. The beauty of seeing legacy as a daily choice is that it empowers you to live intentionally in the present. You do not have to wait until you have accomplished something big to begin building your legacy. You are building it right now. The parent who faithfully provides for their children, who models love and integrity, is creating a legacy. The leader who chooses honesty in the face of temptation is creating a legacy. The individual who decides to overcome fear, pursue growth, and walk in authenticity is creating a legacy. Legacy is not built in one moment of greatness. It is built in countless moments of faithfulness. There is a weight to this realization because it reminds you that you are never neutral. Every day, you are either adding to the legacy you want to leave or subtracting from it. There is no pause button. Your choices are shaping not only your life, but also the lives of those who are watching you, those who are influenced by you, those who will be impacted by your story long after you are gone. This truth calls you to responsibility. It invites you to pause and ask yourself daily, what am I building with my choices today? Does the way I am living align with the values I want to be remembered for? Living with the awareness that legacy is a daily choice also helps you prioritize what really matters. Life is full of distractions, full of opportunities to waste time, full of temptations to chase what is shallow instead of what is lasting. But when you understand that every day is part of your legacy, You start to filter your actions differently. You begin to invest in relationships because you know that love and connection outlast possessions. You begin to live with integrity because you know that trust is more valuable than temporary gain. You begin to serve others because you realize that impact matters more than applause. This awareness becomes a compass, guiding you back to what truly carries eternal weight. Legacy as a daily choice is also a reminder that who you are becoming is more important than what you are achieving. Society often pressures people to define their legacy by titles, accomplishments, or material success. But the truth is, people will not remember you for the car you drove, the house you lived in, or the job title you held. They will remember you for how you made them feel, for the values you embodied, for the way your life touched theirs. Legacy is about essence, not accolades. It is about the person you were, not just the things you did. Every day you have the opportunity to shape that essence, to choose kindness over harshness, generosity over selfishness, courage over fear. One of the most profound aspects of legacy as a daily choice is that it gives redemption to every moment. No matter what your past has been, you can choose differently today. You may have made mistakes. You may have lived seasons you are not proud of, but the gift of daily choice means that you can begin rewriting your story right now. Legacy is not locked in by your past. It is shaped by your present. Each day is a new opportunity to plant seeds of hope, healing, and transformation. The person who decides today to change course, to live differently, to align with higher values, is already creating a new legacy. Legacy as a daily choice is also tested in the hidden places. The things you do when no one is watching, the decisions you make in silence, the habits you form behind closed doors all shape your legacy. It is not just about public actions, but private character. If your private choices contradict your public persona, eventually the truth will emerge because legacy cannot be faked. True legacy flows from authenticity. It is the alignment between who you are in private and who you are in public. When you live with integrity across both, your legacy becomes unshakable because it is rooted in truth. Another dimension of legacy as a daily choice is the way it multiplies through influence. Your daily choices are not isolated, they ripple outward. A kind word you speak may inspire someone else to be kind. A discipline you model may motivate someone else to embrace discipline. A sacrifice you make may open the door for someone else's opportunity. Your legacy is not just about your life. It is about the lives connected to yours. Every choice has the potential to spark a chain reaction, creating impact beyond what you can see. This is why daily choices matter so deeply. You never know who is watching, who is learning, who is being shaped by your example. The daily nature of legacy also requires perseverance. There will be days when living out your values feels difficult, when you are tempted to compromise, when the weight of consistency feels heavy, but perseverance is what separates fleeting moments from lasting legacies. Anyone can make a good choice once, but it is the repeated, consistent choices over time that shape character and destiny. Perseverance means choosing again and again, even when it is hard, even when it costs you, even when no one notices. That faithfulness accumulates, and over time, it becomes a testimony that outlasts you. Legacy as a daily choice also invites gratitude. When you begin to see each day as part of your legacy, you stop taking days for granted. You realize that today is a gift, a chance to build, a chance to love, a chance to sow into something greater than yourself. Gratitude shifts your posture. It makes you more present, more intentional, more aware of the sacredness of time. Gratitude helps you to savor the journey instead of only focusing on the destination. It reminds you that legacy is not just about the end of your life, but about the beauty of living it fully each day. It is important to recognize that legacy as a daily choice is not about perfection, but about direction. You will not always get it right. You will make mistakes, fall short, and have days you are not proud of. But what matters is the direction you are moving in. Legacy is built over time. Through persistence and intentionality. If you fall, you get up again. If you make a wrong choice, you learn and make a better one tomorrow. Legacy is not erased by one bad day. It is written through the accumulation of many days, many choices, many steps forward. Another aspect of legacy as a daily choice is how it redefines success. Success is no longer measured by external standards, but by internal alignment. It is about whether your daily life reflects the values you claim to hold. It is about whether you are becoming the kind of person you want to be remembered as. When success is defined this way, it becomes accessible to everyone, regardless of position, wealth, or status. Anyone, in any circumstance, can build a meaningful legacy by making intentional daily choices. Success is not out there somewhere. It is in the choices you make today. Finally, understanding legacy as a daily choice gives your life clarity and peace. Instead of being overwhelmed by the thought of shaping a lifetime, you can focus on shaping today. Instead of feeling pressure to have it all figured out, you can commit to doing the next right thing. One day at a time, one choice at a time, you are writing your legacy. Over years, those days accumulate. And when people look back at your life, they will not see isolated events, but a consistent pattern of choices that told a story. That story becomes your legacy.